If you are thinking of doing an MBA this year or next year, and if you have MBA interviews lined up, then it's obvious whether any other question is asked or not, this particular one will definitely be asked. Why are you doing an MBA? Or why MBA in short? Hi, my name is Love. I'm an IMCO Code alum. Today, we'll discuss how you should answer this specific question. We'll consider multiple perspectives. We'll see how you should answer this question if you're a fresher and how you should structure this answer if you are someone with work experience. I absolutely think that this is the one question that you should have an answer for in advance. Rather than going into the interview and trying to wing it or come up with an answer on the spot, if you have an answer prepared that you can actually deliver confidently, it will make a huge impact on your interview and will raise the chances of your selection significantly. First of all, you need to understand that there's no right answer or a wrong answer for this sort of a question. Essentially, what the interviewer is trying to gauge is your clarity of thought when it comes to your career. They know that you are probably in your late 20s, and whatever decision you make today may not have the same significant impact, say 5, 10, or 20 years down the line, because people change, their aspirations change, and even their interests sort of evolve. So the interviewer is just trying to gauge your current mindset, the things that you're thinking about your career now, the interests that you have now, and therefore the reasons why you want to pursue an MBA right now. Now, before we actually discuss real answers, I want to give you a pro tip. Even if you want to do an MBA for more money or for a higher paying job, let's be honest here, most of us are actually pursuing an MBA for that purpose itself. But like in Interstellar, 100% honesty ratio simply doesn't cut it. So, in line with that, please don't tell your interviewer that you're in this because of more money or because you want a higher paying job or anything like that. Because the reality is that if you do so, then you will be disqualified almost immediately. So please ensure that you don't correlate your answer with more money or with a higher paying job or something like that, that you revolve your answer around learning and development. With that out of the way, let's talk about the specific strategies and answers that you should give if you're a fresher or an individual with work experience. But before that, if you are serious about MBA interviews and GDs, then please check out the guides in the description. You'll thank me later. So, scenario 1, you're a fresher. The question may not always be framed exactly like this. Chances are that if you are a fresher, then the interviewer may say something like, in my experience, it's almost always better to actually pursue an MBA with some work experience. So why don't you go and work for a year or two and then come back and pursue an MBA later? The moment you hear something like this, in your brain, you must always recognize this as a why MBA question. And in this particular situation, your answer should look something like, well, sir or ma'am, this is a very good opportunity that I've secured, and I worked really hard for it. I want to do MBA as a fresher because if I join this institute, I'm going to be part of a batch profile that will include engineers, commerce graduates, people from arts, CAs, finance professionals, lawyers, HRs. In our batch, we even had a doctor. So the point is that spending 2 years with people from such diverse backgrounds and multidimensional fields offers a massive and unparalleled opportunity to learn from shared experiences. Another thing that you must try your best to highlight is peer-to-peer learning, because look, the classroom setting, the case format of discussion and actually learning within the classroom is all centered around peer-to-peer learning. It's not just a professor coming to class with a certain deck and just, reciting the lines written on the slides along with a few examples or something like that. You learn in an MBA through discussion, and that is a core theme there. So use that. Highlight peer-to-peer learning. Explain that learning about these industries from outside is not only going to take up a lot of time, but it's also going to be lacking the depth that comes when you gather a host of people from multiple dimensions, multiple backgrounds, and make them have a discussion on it while in the presence of a professor to guide that discussion into something informative, into something that enhances learning. Also mention that you will have the opportunity to learn from people who are, say, 2 to 4 years older and have work experience. a lot of you probably are engineers. So, what do you say when you're a fresher and an engineer? Don't shy away from talking about your technical background. I'm pretty sure that while you're pursuing an MBA, while you're sitting and preparing for these interviews, you may be thinking that perhaps that your technical background is going to be a crutch, something that's going to, hold you back or something. It's not. Let me be very clear, and you're going to see that in your placements as well, but it's really not. So you can say something like, I studied for 4 years and applied what I had learned in, say, electronics or software in this and this internship. However, I did not understand how the work that I was doing on a day to day basis was actually contributing to bringing in more money for the company or contributing to its growth or margins or something like that. And therefore, my motive with an MBA is now to actually understand the monetary perspective, the business perspective of things. I want to see how the technical work that I was actually doing generates money for a company. And more than that, the reason for that is going to be so you can actually work in a role that allows you to actually see the kind of impact that you will be making and make more of it. You can also talk about different verticals: HR, finance, operations, etc., that you're going to be learning about to amplify the learnings that you're going to be using in your career. Scenario 2, you have work experience. We can divide work experience into two parts. First one is directly related work experience. So, for instance, if you've worked in a related field to your MBA specialization, so for instance, let's say you're doing an MBA in finance and you've worked in finance before, just a different part of it maybe. Maybe now you're aiming for a co-finance role, but you've been working in, say, risk management or something like that, or maybe audit support, whatever. You get the idea, right? Then you're supposed to talk about the work, the kind of work that you were doing, how that contributed to either the company's growth or maybe to mitigate risks or whatever it was that you were actually doing. You will have to explain the dynamics of the specific departments that you were actually working in, but more importantly, how you actually want to move up the chain and really understand how the division was structured, why it was structured like so, and how it works, and actually make that jump. And then you need to go a step further and start talking about things like exposure, things like networking opportunities that you get just by virtue of being part of that B school community. Those are the kind of things that a normal certification course that you do from outside is not going to be able to offer you. Anyone can learn things, the subjects that are taught at a B school outside. They also get all their material from books, right? So you can definitely read those books by yourself. But point is, there's something else that a B school offers that these books simply can't. And that has to do with exposure and networking opportunities. You can mention something like, I want to work as, say, a product manager, let's say. Then you can talk about people who actually graduated from this particular B school, who currently work either as successful product managers or who have went on to found their own startups, people who you will find it easier to network with now. At the same time, not everything has to be just networking. You can also talk about case competitions that you can actually participate in to hone your strategic instincts. You can also talk about guest lecturers. You can also talk about some specific faculty who's really famous for something that you want, something that you've highlighted in your answers, who you are looking forward to interact with. Talking about these things is going to allow you to build a 360-degree perspective in your answers, and professors really love that. So, if you do things like this, then you will be well along your way of making a good impression. Now, let's talk about the second division. What do you do if your work experience is not exactly directly related to these things? So, like I said, you're an engineer and you were working in a technical field. There's no shortage of people at these B schools who come from engineering backgrounds. A lot of people work in IT, but they really want to work in a different field. The common answer is product management. So, talk about your tech projects, talk about your skills, talk about that while you enjoy doing the technical stuff, you found yourself naturally drawn towards the work that, say, other product managers were doing, or maybe how you desired an end-to-end ownership of the project instead of just dealing with the technical aspect of it, and how you wanted to really understand how the business side of things actually worked. The gist of it is this: show them that you want to move from a narrow, highly specialized technical work to broader product-oriented role that is focused on creating a significant business impact. So this is how you begin to structure your why MBA response in a format that actually makes an impact. Now, there's one more thing, and that has to do with entrepreneurship. Some people actually have an entrepreneurial spirit, and they have it in their heads from very early point that they want to start a business of their own. You can mention this, that you intend to start your own business 10 to 15 years down the line or something like that. However, there's a catch here. If you say something like this, you must only do this if you have prepared really well about this, because most certainly you will be questioned on this. If you mention this, most certainly the interviewer will ask about what kind of business you want to start, or why, or what specific problems will it solve, stuff like that. Then you can't cop out by simply saying that, well, I don't intend to start one now. I'm going to start one 10 to 15 years down the line. Then you're just going to come across as a weird mess who does not really know why they're pursuing an MBA. So only say something like this if you're very well prepared with it. If you are not prepared with it, just avoid this angle. But if you are, then go for it. It may be the thing that actually converts that interview for you. If you want to know how to craft even more solid answers for more questions that are likely to be asked in an MBA interview, check out the guides in the description. Thank me later. If you're serious about MBA interviews in the current ongoing phase, then stay tuned for more, because the next video is going to be about how to ace group discussions. See you then. Good luck.